I'm now going to look at the Midi Event List Editor in greater depth. You can open it by clicking on the event list icon at the top left-hand corner, or use the keyboard shortcut Alt+L. You can also open it by clicking on the View menu and selecting Show Event List. The event list displays MIDI information in the form of editable text. I'm going to add some MIDI notes, and as I do, you will see them appear in the event editor. This time, to add these notes, I'm going to enable Step Recording Mode. This can be done by clicking on the Step Recording icon, or by choosing it from the Options menu under Step Input. Step Recording Mode is particularly useful for non-keyboard players and lets you play in the notes at your own speed. Although regardless of your keyboard skills, it is still a very useful tool. For example, if you are working on a laptop without a MIDI keyboard, you can use step recording to enter notes using the computer keyboard. So the notes have appeared in the matrix editor and the note information in the event editor. Selecting a note in the event editor will select the corresponding note in the matrix editor, and vice versa. There are 5 columns in the event editor. From left to right, the columns display the time position, the type of MIDI event, which in this case is a note on event. You can also view note of events by clicking on the Show Note Of button at the bottom. Note on and note off events are always displayed and edited in pairs. If I click on another note on event, the corresponding note off event will be linked to that note. These pairs of events are both given a shade of red, although note off events are hidden by default. Returning back to the event display columns, the third column shows the MIDI channel number, the next column the note number and pitch, and the final column represents the velocity level. There are 2 ways to edit parameters in the event editor. One way is to double-click and type in the new value. The other way is to left-click and drag. When using the click and drag method, do the following. Place your mouse cursor over the number you want to edit and left-click. The mouse cursor will turn into a double-headed vertical arrow. Dragging in the first column will adjust the note position. Doing the same in the third column will change the MIDI channel. You can change the note pitch in the fourth column and velocity in the fifth column. If you want to select non-contiguous events, Control left-click to select them. When multiple events are selected, any edits made will affect all selected events. To deselect individual events, Control left-click again. To select a series of contiguous events, select the first note and Shift-select the last note. All notes in between will be selected. To select all notes, use Ctrl+A. A useful command is Toggle Selection, which is in the Edit menu. This will deselect selected notes and select unselected notes. So I'm toggling the selection. You may find the best workflow is to use a combination of the event editor and the matrix editor. When clicking inside the event editor window, a thin red frame appears to show that this window is active. This helps to differentiate between keyboard commands. When the event editor is active, the up and down arrow will select the next or previous event. Whereas when the matrix editor is active, the same keyboard command will transpose events up or down by 1 semitone. Next, I'm going to add a small amount of modulation using the modulation wheel of my MIDI keyboard. modulation information has now been added to the event list and is also shown in the Velocity Controller Editor. I can choose to disable recorded controller information by clicking on the Mute Controller button. The display filters can be used to manipulate the display of data based on different attributes. Filtering data in this way means that you can work on specific notes or events without affecting others. You can apply these filters to 4 different types of data. 1. MIDI events including note and controller events. 2. MIDI channels. 3. MIDI controller type events including note number, pitch bend and modulation wheel data, etc., also known as byte 1. 4. MIDI controller data including velocity or other controller values, also known as byte 2. I'm going to do my best to explain how these filters work. When you place your mouse on the plus sign above any of the 4 columns, a tooltip will pop up to give you more information. These tooltips tell you what each filter does. There are 4 filters available. These are 1. Equal to the selected event status. 2. Not equal to the selected event status. 3. Less or equal to the selected event status. 4. Greater or equal to the selected event status. You can select the filters from a list by right-clicking on the filter boxes. To begin with, you need to select the data that you want to apply the filter to. I'm beginning with the event type filter. This filter is for dealing with note and controller type data. I'm going to use this filter to hide the modulation wheel controller data. There are 2 possible ways to hide this. The easiest way is just to select a note or event and click the equals sign so it turns blue. This means that all events that equate to a note on event will be visible, and all events that aren't a note on event will be hidden. The second method is to select a line of modulation data. Then right-click on the plus sign and choose the second entry, which is not equal. This means that any data that is not equal to the mod wheel events remains in view. The modulation events will be hidden. As I want to hide the controller events, I'm going to keep that filter enabled. This makes it easier to handle the MIDI note on events without the controller data getting in the way. The second filter box is above the MIDI channels column. As all MIDI channels are set to channel 1, the filters will have no effect. But if there are different MIDI channels, just use the same methodology as I applied on the events column. The third filter box is above the pitch events column. To view only notes of the same pitch, select the desired note. I'm selecting the first note, which is 69 or A3. If I click on the plus sign above the MIDI note number, all notes are filtered out except A3. If I want to view all notes other than A3, select A3 and right-click on the pitch filter and select the second entry, which is not equal. Now all A3 notes have been filtered out. If you want to view all notes below a certain pitch, first select the highest pitch. In this case I'm going to select C3. Now right-click on the pitch display filter and select the third entry, which is less or equal. So now only notes equal or below the pitch C3 will be displayed. In order to view all notes above C3, right-click on the pitch display filter again and select the fourth entry, which is more or equal. Now only notes equal to or above the pitch C3 will be displayed. The fourth filter is for MIDI controller values. The same methods apply. Choosing equal will filter out everything except the selected velocity level. Choosing not equal will hide the selected velocity level, leaving all other levels in view. Choosing less or equal will hide all velocity levels above the selected level. Choosing more or equal will hide all velocity levels below the selected level.